Examining Kevin's track record surprises some people. As CEO of 4 successful world-class brands and as a serial entrepreneur who has built international companies from just a good idea, Kevin has created over £3 billion worth of shareholder value. And yet, he's still found time to climb the world's highest mountains, walk to both North and South Poles, compete in international sport, play in a rock band, and recently this year became a world record holder rowing across the Atlantic. Ladies and gentlemen, delighted to introduce Kevin Gaskell.
I'm going to talk to you about how we've built winning cultures in various organizations and various teams. 2 years ago, I put together a group of guys who shared a dream. And our dream was to come together and set a new world record. And it wasn't just going to be any world record. It was going to be the world record for rowing across the Atlantic Ocean. They call it the world's toughest row. I'm sure they call it the world's toughest row for a reason, and it certainly turned out that way for us. We were a bunch of guys with different skill sets. None of us had rowed before. We didn't have Jürgen Grobler as a coach. We only had ourselves. What we recognized was that we needed to build different skills. So we learned how to navigate, we learned how to row, we learned sea survival, we learned first aid, we learned everything that we could do to make our transition across that ocean easier and safer. We were in a 24-foot plastic boat. We trained like we'd never trained before. In 2 years, we lifted the equivalent of a naval destroyer. We ran 8,000 kilometers, we cycled 12,000 kilometers, and we rowed about 6,000 kilometers. We trained like we'd never trained before. We thought we were as prepared as we could possibly be. What we knew was that the competition was going to be immense. People had done this crossing before, the world record existed. It had only been set and beaten the previous year. So we were setting ourselves an enormous target. We recognized that the culture on that boat, in that very tiny environment, was going to be the difference between winning and losing. We set ourselves 3 goals. The first was to break the world record. The second was to start as friends and end as friends. And the third was be kind. Be kind. We knew we were going to face the situations that we'd never seen before. We knew that we were going to be challenged as we'd never been challenged before. So we set out. We set out from Spain in December last year. We'd been given weather routing, weather guidance, and we were told, listen guys, it's going to be a bit windy today and there'll be a storm tonight, but it'll miss you. It won't come anywhere near you, so you'll be okay. So off we went. We set out to sea. We started rowing. In the first day, we did about 80 miles. Through the day, the weather got progressively worse. As it went dark, the weather deepened and became even more harsh. We found ourselves heading into an Atlantic storm. Now, I can tell you, I've never rowed through an Atlantic storm before. I'd never been in an Atlantic storm before. When it hit us at about midnight, it was like something we had never seen before. The boat was turned around, the boat was rolled. At one point, it got so bad, we got hit by a wall of water that broke 2 of our carbon fiber oars. These are oars with shafts of about 3 inches diameter. These are designed to take tons and tons and tons of load. One wave snapped 2 of our oars. We've now lost 2 oars. What do we do? This is where we look to ourselves. This is where our culture comes into play. Are we going to give up? We decided that whatever came to us, we were not going to give up. Whatever hit us, we were going to find a way to get around it. Whatever happened to us, we would find a way through it. We threw out the power anchor to try and hold ourselves in position. The boat is being pounded like nothing I've ever seen before. We have a team meeting. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to sit here for 2 hours and get hammered, and then we're going to change the way we row. We're going to change the way we organize ourselves. We don't have any spare oars left. We need to find a way to go forward. Over the next 34 days, we learned like we'd never learned before. Our culture grew stronger and stronger. We understood each other. We compensated for each other. One person had a bad day, somebody compensated. Another person had a day of hallucinations. We laughed about it, we got on with it. 35 days later, we arrived in Antigua. We set the new world record for crossing the Atlantic. For us, it was an extraordinary adventure. It was a great journey with a bunch of friends who will be friends for life. It was great fun. The invisible advantage that we had there was the culture, and we'd recognized that early on. Now, when I build businesses, I focus on the culture. I focus on having people working with me who understand where it is we're going, how we're going to get there. And I break it down into 3 areas, 3 ways of creating a world-class culture. It starts with commit. Absolutely commit to do something extraordinary. Absolutely commit to take this business to a point where it's never been seen before. Let's understand what that looks like. The second is connect. To connect the whole team with the journey so that everybody knows what part they're going to play. You just heard from Gabby, the nutritionist at Liverpool, is an essential part of the team. Everybody in our team needs to understand what part they play. Because the third part is create. And that is create magic. That is to do something that we can say, hey, look what we did. Aren't we having fun? This is extraordinary. Yes, it's tough. Yes, building something that's world class is not easy. But you know what? It should be fun. When those 3 overlap, that's when we get inspiration. Inspiration is when everybody in the team understands how they play a part and how they can help us to create an exciting, an extraordinary future. You heard from Nick that I've run a number of companies. Yes, I have. I've had a lot of fun building businesses. But it starts with having that dream. It starts with actually saying, hey, where are we going with this? What is it that we can do? The day I took over running Porsche, out of 32 brands in the marketplace, we were number 32. We had nowhere, couldn't go any lower. So we asked ourselves, what does success look like? And somebody said, you know, we should be number 1. And everybody looked at this guy and said, number 1? You crazy, we're number 32. No, we should be number 1. Why should we not be number 1? That's the goal we set. 4 years later, we were number 1 in the market. When I joined BMW, we were growing at 4% per annum. The market was tough. It was really very difficult. And we asked ourselves, is this the best we can do? With the organization we've got here, with an extraordinary people that we've got in this organization, is this the best we can do? And we said, no, it's not. If we can change the way we think, if we can change the way that we behave, we can actually do better than this. 4 years later, with the same team of people, we'd grown that business by 80%. We'd grown operating profit by 500%. People couldn't believe it, but they came into the organization, they worked with us for a while, and they said, okay, we get it. Now we understand. Because everybody in that organization was part of it. It was about saying, we can achieve this. It doesn't matter whether you're a 7,000 person company or a 7-person company. Today, 2 of the companies that I chair are small businesses. 1 employs 3 people. 1 employs 5 people. Both of those businesses will be world leaders. We are absolutely convinced that we're the best at what we do and that we are going to be the world leaders in our space. It doesn't matter about size. The principles are exactly the same. It is about changing the mindset. It's about thinking at a different level. You know, to most businesses, next year is this year plus 3%. Now, we're in the middle of the COVID crisis, so all bets are off. But when we're planning the future, let's not think about when we come out of COVID. We will come out of COVID. At some point, we will come out. The world will return to normal. It will be different, but it will return to normal. The most successful businesses, the most successful cultures are the ones who are saying, how far can we change our business? How far can we take our business forward? And how do we do that? When I talk to people in businesses, I say, what's your plan for next year? What does it look like? And they'll say, oh, we're going to grow at 3%. And I say, yeah, okay, that's kind of interesting. Not, that's the market. How would you grow your business at 30%? And people look at me and say, 30%, you're crazy. I say, no. 30%, very possible. How would you do that? Turn off the autopilot. Stop doing what you think you've always done. How can we go to a whole new level? And they look at me and say, look, I'll make life easy for you. Forget 30%. And you can see they relax. 300%. People say, Kev, you're crazy. You're crazy. I say, no, I want you to think at a different level. I want you to be the best in the world. Why should you not be? Somebody has to be the best in the world. 2 years ago, if I said we're going to break the world record for rowing the Atlantic, well, I said it to people and they said, you're crazy. You're crazy. You've never rowed. You're crazy. Well, now we proved them wrong. So when I look at a business, I say, what could you do to take your business forward by 300%? People look at me and they laugh, they smile, get a little bit scared. I say, right, let's play a game. Let's just talk about it. Let's imagine, what would it take? Who have we got in this organization who could help us to achieve that? And we start engaging the team. We start talking to the team about what this could be. Let me give you an example. I was asked to run a boat business. And this boat business was in real trouble. It had made losses for 10 years in succession. The business had gone through 13 rounds of redundancy. It was owned by the banks because they held the debt. They now own the company. Sales were down by 75%. And I think in desperation, they said, who's that mug? Let's ask him to go and have a look. So I went in and had a look at this business. The business had an extraordinary heritage, a fantastic background. But what did we want to be? Well, when we decide what we want to be, that helps us to build the plan, to create the practical steps to get there. So when I look at a business, I say, well, let's start at the end. Start at the end and work back to here. Because if we start at the end and work back to here, that's a straight line. We know where we're going. And so we started at the end. We started by inviting the team to tell us what it was that this business could be. Let's understand what's the truth in this business, because this business had obviously not been well led in the last 10 years. It had an extraordinarily passionate team. The people in the factories were incredible. We had 3 generations working in the factories. Those guys knew how to build great boats. And so one evening when I'd been there about 5 or 6 days, I called the whole team together in one of the factories. We had 7 factories. I called the whole team together and I went down and introduced myself. And I said, guys, this is me. This is what I am. This is what I do. I'm an engineer by training. What's wrong with this business? And they said, nobody will allow us to do what we're good at. And I said, what is it that you're good at? They said, we can build the best motor yachts in the world, but you have to give us a chance to do it. And I said, what's stopping you now? Well, the investment's been made in the wrong things. We're building wood factories we don't need, and our salaries have gone backwards. Our bonus has been stopped. We're not getting paid. It's not fair. So I said to them, what is it that you expect me to do? I've been here 5 days. What do you expect me to do? They said, we expect you to be honest with us. I said, okay, I'll be honest with you. What is the biggest thing stopping the factory now? Well, it's our pay and rations. It's not fair. I said, all right, leave that with me. 5 o'clock on a Wednesday evening. The guys left. Say the guys, very few ladies in that business, the guys left, they went home. I took my production director and my finance director, we locked ourselves away for the rest of the night. We worked through what we could afford to pay. We worked through what we could afford to do that would reward the guys for what they produced. When they came back on shift at 8 o'clock in the morning, we were already set up. You can see on this picture, we already had a podium set up. We had a slide chart behind us. We'd written the slides and we presented to them the new package. They were incredulous. How did you do that overnight? Well, because we're committed to making the change. We'll tell you the truth. We will share the story with you. You help us. The mindset in that business changed overnight. Mindset in that business moved from not understanding the management to actually wanting to create something that was extraordinary. That was about creating a world-class experience, creating a world-class culture, so that wherever you touched that brand, you got a world-class experience. Wherever you touched our company, whether it was online, offline, at our dealers, on the boat, wherever it was world-class. Now, as a leader, you can't be everywhere. You can't be everywhere. And so what we need to do as leaders is create the opportunity for the team to contribute to the development of that culture and the development of that world class. People will tell you how to make changes. People in the team know better than I do how to build boats. I don't know how to build boats. My job as a leader is not to build boats, it's to create the opportunity for people to contribute. I don't try to be a genius because I'm very far away from being a genius. I try to create geniuses. And what that means is this. They say everybody is at least 5% genius. So for every 20 people I've got sharing the same dream with the same passion, working in the same team, 20 times 5% is 100% genius. So we engage the passion within the team to create that dimension, to create that opportunity, to build that extraordinary culture. And we build it in 360 degrees. If I come and visit your business, if I come and visit your organization, if I talk to you, are you world class? Is your culture world class? Would I see world class? I've never been to the Liverpool training ground, but I hear it in the passion of Gabby. It looked like this. And when I spoke to people, it sounded like this. And then I felt it. And so when people come into our business, we want them to see it. Oh, wow, this looks world class. Oh, listen to the enthusiasm and the knowledge within this team. It's extraordinary. It feels world class. And that's why it doesn't matter whether it's 7 people or 7,000 people. It's about having 360-degree, 3-dimensional culture that wherever you touch it, you get the same experience. That is about leadership. That is about creating the opportunity for people to contribute, enabling people to play part in building the future. And we do it with our one version of the truth, by being very open about our plans, by placing the plans on the wall. One little story about Fairlane, the union boss, it was a unionized business, told me in that first meeting he'd never been to head office. I said, "You've never been to head office?" He said, "No. Head office was 100 meters away. Never been there." I said, "Okay, well, let's change that." And so we translated our fancy boardroom into a union room. So they came and they joined. And instead of it being them and us, we were all part of the same team. We put the plans on the wall. We invited the unions to comment on their plans because we're all in this together. We created something by treating people as grown-ups, by recognizing that if we share the same commitment to the same goal, then we will work together. And that is how you build the culture. It is about recognizing that sometimes it goes wrong. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. In fact, when it goes wrong, that's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to catch people in. So catch people in, don't catch people out. If it goes wrong, that's a quiet conversation. If it goes right, we make a lot of noise about it. We celebrate it. We shout it from the rooftops. We recognize that sometimes it goes wrong, and we enable everyone on the team to understand it doesn't matter. That's how we learn. That's how we push the boundaries. We build teams. This is the Fairlane team at the boat show. We didn't have anything new to show, no new boats. What we did was change the way that we dealt with our clients. We discussed it beforehand. What atmosphere do we want to create for clients? These are high net worths. These are people buying £5 million boats. They've experienced everything in the world. How are we going to treat them differently? And we did. And the design of that different experience was done by these ladies and gentlemen here. There's no such person as an onlyer. She's only a sales director. He's only a boat cleaner. There's no such thing. Everybody has a part to play. So in our business, we recognize that everybody is an absolutely key part of the overall team. My belief is if we have a clarity of vision, if we understand how people connect to that, if we give people a line of sight about how they make a contribution to that, if we trust them and encourage them with their 5% genius to think in new ways, we build a culture that's extraordinary. We proved it in our little boat, from zeros to heroes in 2 years. I've spent my life building cultures like this through businesses. I enjoy working with other companies. I enjoy working with other leaders, helping them to build the culture in their business. That culture is your differentiator. That culture of innovation and trust, that's what makes the impossible possible. Thank you very much.